So if you've ever worked with data, you've probably used a database. But have you ever really thought about what's holding it all together? You know, the invisible blueprint that defines every single table, every rule, and every connection? Well, that blueprint is written in a special part of SQL called the Data Definition Language, or DDL for short. In this explainer, we're going to dive in and learn how to use these DDL commands to build a solid, reliable database structure right from scratch. Here's the game plan. First up, we're going to tackle the big one. In a world full of point-and-click tools, why on earth would you bother with code? Then, we'll get our hands dirty and start building some tables. After that, we'll get to the really powerful stuff, setting up rules and relationships. We'll also cover what to do when things inevitably change, and wrap it all up with a look at how to make your database run lightning fast. All right, let's jump right into that first big question. We've got all these amazing user-friendly programs, so why would we ever go back to typing out code? I mean, seriously, modern database tools have these incredible graphical interfaces, GUIs, that let you design a whole database with just a few clicks. It feels so easy and intuitive, so why would I want to go backward and learn to write code for something a tool can basically do for me? That is a totally fair question, and the answer really boils down to two things: professionalism and automation. Look, a GUI is fantastic for quickly exploring and mocking something up, but once you get the hang of it, writing DDL code is way faster. And here's the real magic: it's repeatable. You can save all your commands in a script and rebuild your entire database structure perfectly every single time. Plus, it's the only way for your applications to create tables on the fly. And the best part? DDL is a standard. The skills you learn are going to work across all the big systems: SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, you name it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's move away from the why and get into the how. Let's actually build something. All right, you've convinced me. I'm ready to get my hands dirty. What's the command? How do I make my very first table?
Your entire journey starts with two simple words: create table. This statement is the absolute cornerstone of DDL. It's the command you use to tell the database, hey, I need a new place to store some data, and here are the exact rules for what it's going to look like.
Let's walk through this, because it's actually super logical. You start with create table and give your table a name, in this case, artist. Then, inside the parentheses, you define each column. You give it a name, like artist ID, you tell it the data type, like int for integer, and then you set a rule for nullability. Not null is a constraint that says this field must have a value in every single row. Null, on the other hand, means it's optional, like we see with nationality. Finally, we define our primary key. That's the one column that will uniquely identify every single artist in our table. So, we've got a table. That's great, but a real database isn't just a bunch of disconnected spreadsheets. The real power comes from being able to enforce rules and connect your data together. Exactly! I don't want someone putting banana in a date column. And I need my work table to know which artist created which piece of art. How do I build that kind of smarts right into the database itself? You do that with more constraints. Think of them as the bouncers or the rule book for your data. We've already met primary key and not null. A unique constraint is pretty similar, but with a couple of important differences we'll see in a second. A check constraint is awesome. It lets you enforce business rules like making sure a price is always above zero. And then there's the big one for connecting tables, the foreign key. This is how you build those crucial relationships. Now, it's really important to know when to use a primary key versus a unique constraint. Think of it like this: every table needs one and only one primary key. It's the official main ID for a record, and it can never, ever be empty. But you might have other columns that also need to have unique values. For example, in a table of employees, the employee ID is your primary key. But you'd probably also want a unique constraint on their email address to make sure you don't have duplicates. This whole idea leads to a really critical concept: referential integrity. I know it sounds super technical, but the idea is actually simple. It just means that your relationships between tables stay consistent. If you have a work table that points to an artist, referential integrity stops you from adding a work for an artist who doesn't exist. It also stops you from deleting an artist if they still have works in the database. Basically, it prevents you from creating orphan records, and the foreign key is the tool that makes it all happen. And here's what that looks like in the code. In our new work table, we add an artist ID column. Then we declare it's a foreign key that references the artist ID in our main artist table. Now check out the really powerful part. onUpdate cascade is a rule that says if an artist's ID ever changes for some reason, that change will automatically cascade down to all of their artworks. And onDelete no action is our safety net. It protects our data by stopping us from deleting an artist if they're still linked to any of their works.
So we've built our initial tables, and we've connected them. But what happens when the project requirements change? Because let's be honest, in the real world, they always do.
Right. My boss literally just came over and said we now need to track the date each artwork was created. I already built the table. Do I have to delete it and start all over again?
No way! You absolutely do not have to start over. The alter table statement was made for exactly this situation. The syntax is super easy. You just tell it which table to alter, then use a clause like add to define your new column and its data type. This command is your go-to tool for evolving your database over time.
Now, sometimes you do need to get rid of things, and when you do, it is critical to know the difference between drop and truncate. Think of drop table as the nuclear option. It completely vaporizes the table, the structure, the data, all of it. It's just gone. Truncate table, on the other hand, just deletes all the rows inside the table, but the table structure is left perfectly intact. It's like the difference between emptying a filing cabinet and burning the whole cabinet to the ground.
Okay, we've covered how to build our database, how to relate things, and how to change it. For our last section, let's talk about making it go fast.
So my application is up and running, but as we add more and more artwork, searching for a specific title is starting to take forever. I thought databases were supposed to be fast. How can the structure of my table help with search speed? Oh, they are fast, but as tables get bigger and bigger, they sometimes need a little help, and that help is called an index. The absolute best way to think about it is like the index at the back of a textbook. Instead of flipping through every single page to find a word, you just look it up in the index and it tells you exactly what page to go to. A database index does the exact same thing for your data, making searches on that column unbelievably fast. And you won't believe how simple it is to create one. You just use the create index command, give your index a good descriptive name, and then tell it which table and column to build the index on. Right here, we're just telling the database to build a super fast lookup for the title column in our work table. And just like that, searching by title will be lightning fast from now on.
And that really brings us to the single most important point of all. We can talk about these commands all day, but you're only going to really learn them by doing them. These concepts truly click when you actually install a database management system, a free version of SQL Server or Postgres or MySQL, and you start building things for yourself. At the end of the day, just remember this. A database schema is never really finished. It's a living document that has to grow and adapt right along with your application. But now, you have the core DDL commands, create, alter, and drop, to be its architect. So the only question left is, what are you going to build next? If this explainer helped you get started, please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.